The MTHFR mutation explained. 3 questions I'd wish I'd asked first. Are you feeling overwhelmed by all the MTHFR gene mutation information out there? Like you're only getting half of the story and not one can agree on what to actually do. If you've been told you have the MTHFR gene mutation, or you've seen it all over social media, I'm going to save you hours of confusion and probably hundreds of dollars, because I think women are only hearing half the story. One person tells you MTHFR gene explains every symptom you've ever had. Another tells you it doesn't matter at all. Then someone on Instagram tells you to take methylfolate. Someone else tells you never to take methylfolate. So who is right? Honestly, that's exactly what I wanted to know, because I was struggling with weight gain and trying everything I knew to do, including a GLP-1 medication. I knew there had to be more to the story. That's why I decided to have a comprehensive genetic testing, not because I thought one gene was going to explain everything, but because I wanted more information. When my results came back, one of the gene variants was MTHFR. I didn't know much about it, so I did what most of us do, and I Googled it. Big mistake. Within 10 minutes, I was more confused than when I started. That's when I realized something. The problem wasn't the MTHFR. The problem was the information. Women are only hearing half the story. That's why I made this video. Not to tell you the MTHFR gene explains everything, and not to tell you it doesn't. I want to help you cut through the noise so you can stop guessing and start asking better questions. Before we go any further, I want to be clear that I am not a doctor and this is not medical advice. I'm simply sharing my experience and what I learned while trying to understand my own genetic testing. If you're considering genetic testing or making changes to your healthcare, those are conversations to have with your own qualified healthcare provider. So what is the MTHFR gene? And why does it matter for MTHFR symptoms so many women are quietly dealing with? Folate is the nutrient your body uses in the process called methylation, which is involved in things like DNA repair and neurotransmitter production. When there's a variant in the MTHFR gene, that enzyme may work less efficiently. Having one copy of the variant is common, and so many people the effect is mild. Having 2 copies is less common, and some people it has a bigger impact on how that enzyme functions. I want to be really clear about something that's general information. It's not a diagnosis. It doesn't tell you what it means for your specific health. That's a conversation to have with your own qualified healthcare provider. Okay, now that you know what the MTHFR actually looks like, let's go into what I wish somebody had told me from the start. If this sounds like you, I've linked a free resource guide in the description below to help you better understand the signals your body may be giving. The MTHFR gene is not a diagnosis. It's information about those that are 2 different things. When people hear the word mutation, it's easy to think this must be what's wrong with me, and that's exactly what I almost did. But here's what I learned. One gene cannot tell you your entire health story. It can only give you a clue. It points you in the right direction, but it can't tell you everything. Think about it this way. If I handed you a piece of a 1,000-piece puzzle, would you know what the whole picture looked like? Of course not. That's exactly how I think about the MTHFR gene now. It's one piece of the information, not the entire picture. The second thing I wish someone had told me, the internet rewards certainty. Health doesn't. The more I researched, the more I realized everyone seemed absolutely certain they had the answer. This supplement is dangerous. This gene explains everything. This gene means nothing. You might be thinking, but so and so on Instagram sounded confident, and honestly, that's exactly what I fell into. How could all of these things be true? The answer is they can't. That's when something really clicked for me. The internet is designed to reward certainty. Your health requires context. That's a completely different conversation. The third thing I wish somebody had told me, the biggest issue isn't having an MFTHR variant. The biggest issue is believing one gene explains everything. I almost made that mistake because when I saw the MTHFR on my report, I wanted it to be the answer. Honestly, I think most of us do. We want one reason, one diagnosis, one thing we can point to and finally say, there it is. But what if the question's wrong? What if the better question is, where does this fit in my overall health? That one question changed everything for me. Because instead of looking for one answer, I started looking for patterns and completely changed the way I approach my health. If you are realizing you've only been hearing half the story, I've created a free guide to help you start connecting the dots. You'll find it in the description below. Before I tell you what my own genetic testing actually showed, I want to leave you with one thought. If you spent hours online trying to figure out the MTHFR gene, you probably noticed something. Everyone is telling you what to do. Very few people are helping you understand how to think about the information. And I think that's the missing piece. Because once you know how to think about your health, you're far less likely to be pulled in 10 different directions every time a new trend shows up on social media. So what did my genetic testing actually show? When I opened my report, I wasn't looking at just one gene. I had ordered a comprehensive genetic panel because I knew there had to be more to the story. There were pages of different variants. One of them was the MTHFR gene. My report showed I carried one copy of the MTHFR C677T variant. When I first saw that, I remember thinking, is this the answer? But thinking back, that wasn't the right question. The better question was, what am I supposed to learn from this? Because here's what surprised me. Finding out I had an MTHFR variant didn't make my next step obvious. It actually made me realize how much conflicting information was out there. One person said, this changes everything. Another said, it doesn't matter. The confidence on both sides never matched up with how little any of it actually explained. That was the moment everything shifted for me. I stopped asking who's right, and I started asking what questions should I be asking. That one shift probably saved me the most time, the most frustration, and honestly probably the most money because I stopped chasing every recommendation I saw. Here's the biggest mistake I almost made. I almost assumed that because I had an MTHFR variant, I found the reason for every symptom I've ever had. But the more I learned, the more I realized that's not how health works. One gene doesn't erase everything else. It doesn't replace your symptoms. It doesn't replace your lab work. It doesn't replace your medical history. It's simply another piece of information to understand. That was incredibly freeing because instead of chasing one answer, I started looking at a bigger picture, including how it might connect to MTHFR and weight gain, and which is a question I get asked constantly. If this is helping you make sense of all the conflicting information you've seen online, I've created a free guide to help you start connecting the dots. You'll find it in the description below. Here are the 3 questions I'd wish I'd asked from the very beginning. Not what supplement should I take? Instead, question number 1, which HFR variant do I actually have? Not all the variants are the same, and that's the one reason blanket advice online can be misleading. Question 2, how does this fit with my symptoms? A gene variant on its own doesn't automatically explain why you're tired, struggling with weight, or dealing with brain fog. That's why it's so important to look at your results in context over your overall health, not in isolation. Question number 3, who can help me understand these results in the context of my health history? Not someone who knows one gene, someone who can put all the pieces together. That changed everything for me because once I stopped searching for the quick answers, I started having better conversations. And I think that's really the other half of the story. The MTHFR gene isn't something to fear. It's also not something to ignore. For me, it became another piece of the information that helped me ask better questions. And I think that's where so many women get stuck. We aren't taught how to ask better questions. So if one of my girlfriends called tomorrow and said, Michelle, I just found out I have the MTHFR gene variant, what do I do? Here's exactly what I'd tell her. Don't panic. Don't assume you found the answer to every symptom you've ever had, and don't assume it means nothing either. Get curious, understand which variant you have, write down your questions, and have a conversation with a qualified healthcare provider who can help you understand what those results mean in the context of your own health. Because that's something the internet can never do. If there's one thing I hope you take away from today's video, it's this. The MTHFR gene wasn't the answer I was looking for. It was the beginning of asking better questions. And I think that's the lesson women are missing. We are being handed answers before we're being taught how to ask the right questions. If you're tired of piecing together random health information advice from the internet, download the free guide linked below. It's designed to help you start understanding the signals your body may be giving you and ask questions worth asking. If you found this video helpful, I'd love for you to subscribe because every week we're unpacking another health topic where I believe women are only hearing half the story. Next week, we're talking about thyroid labs. If you've ever been told your thyroid is normal, but you're still exhausted, struggling with weight gain, losing your hair, or wondering why you don't feel like yourself, I'm going to share the thyroid lab test, what I wish I had known sooner, the questions prompted me to ask, and why I believe women are only hearing half the story there too. I'll see you in the next video.